So as the journey goes on, we move into what we call the spiritual awareness. And the spiritual awareness is the fact that you begin to connect to the fact that God's working in your life. No, you connect to that. You're no longer a lone ranger, if you would. You connect to the wonderful prayer that went around for so many years, footprints. That's still very valid. 2 sets of footprints in the sand, you and me, God. Then I went through a crisis or challenge in my life. There was only 1 set of footprints. I love that answer. Did you not know I was carrying you? Of course we don't know, unless you realize there's a relationship that's going deeper and deeper. And it's so nice. It's so good when a person says, but for God's help, I could never have accomplished it, and meant it. And meant it. Without God's help, I could have never done this, but meant it. Past the surface, down to the emotional, the psychological, and now in the spiritual, getting in touch with the fact, actually, that you're a child of God. So the journey begins to deepen. And as the journey begins to deepen, you take access to the fact of what we call our true self. But what is our true self? That is part of us that we do with very little effort. And it's a gift that you have. It's that part that you can spend hours with and think it's just thinking really, and it seems like just a minute or two. You're in sync with this. This could be forgiveness. This could be generosity. This could be hospitality. This could be a teacher that has a wonderful gift. For myself, I think, God's gift to me is I can talk and talk, like my father said to me when I got ordained a priest. He says, don't, what did he say again? Give me a moment. Don't impress, inspire. Don't impress, inspire. We got too many people who impress, but we need people who inspire. I will honestly say I embrace that gift. Do I get an amen? Amen. I'm with you. I'm not, we're journeying in this together, for goodness sakes. And you have those gifts. Some of you are good listeners. It's amazing how you do it. And you do it because you want to help the other person. Some of you have a wonderful gift of hospitality. It's nothing for you to whip together something and invite people into your house. And there's other people don't have that gift. You go into their house, you get an asparagus wrapped in bacon, which they got at Trader Joe's. So, but there is there something about asparagus that I don't know? Some of you just have that wonderful knack. Some of you have the wonderful knack of really being, very, very neat. It's not an obsession, but it just, everything is always neat. Wherever you go, you can see this person is so neat. Another person has a wonderful gift of fixing things, Some people have the gift to be able to read the instructions of how to put something together. And then at the end, hope there's not 2 screws loose that when you sit in the chair, it falls apart. That is a gift of your true self. Celebrate it. Celebrate it. We may be talking too much sometimes about forgiveness and healing, but celebrate those wonderful gifts you have. Some of you have the ability really to be what I like to call minute men and minute women. What does that mean? When there's a crisis, you're right there. You know what to do. You take right over. That's a gift. Because most of us are standing around like stunads saying, should we have a committee for him? And you go right in and do it. So what's your gift? Would you please get in touch with what your gift is that shows your true self, that you do unconditionally, and you don't have any strings attached? Close your eyes. What's your gift? Claim your gift. What is your gift that comes spontaneously, naturally, with no strings attached. If it wasn't a gift from God, there would be strings attached. But people can count on you. You're there. You're there to yourself even. What is your gift? And that's the beginning of seeing where your true self is. Please embrace it. Please celebrate it. Please thank God for it. Because each one of you is a little piece of mosaic that if you really celebrated your gifts and you gave them generously, the world would be a different place. So I invite you to open your eyes. So we don't want to live on that surface level. That's just getting stuff done. Although you have to get stuff done, but you don't want to stay with that being the defining element of your life. And you want to move into the psychological level, really, and get in touch with your feelings, your emotions, and everything, your passions. And there's nothing wrong with passion, for God's sakes, Passion is very important. That drives you to do wonderful and marvelous things, for goodness sakes. And then we want to be more in touch, really, with our spiritual side, that we truly celebrate that we're children of God, made in God's image and likeness. And to get in touch with our true self, those things that flow in our lives, and in your retirement, as you get older, like 60, 70, 80, whatever it might be, you're more in touch with that because you give yourself some space. Don't clutter your retirement time with just other stuff to do. Enter into the little journey, for goodness sakes. And the little article I have here, that I wrote, and I'm going to talk about in a little while, Raimondo Guardini said, the person who is growing old becomes more conscious of the eternal. They move less. And thus the voices which come from beyond are better heard by them. Invading eternity causes the reality of time to pale. That is a powerful statement. As you allow yourself to embrace the eternal being that you are, that you're going to live forever, it's only going to change. The time that you have left, in a certain sense, kind of isn't such a big issue. You're ready to go when you're ready to go. Because in a certain sense, you've stepped back and looked at the larger picture. That's what the divine indwelling helps, and that's at the bottom of, if you would, the journey, along with the true self. We're going to say, you keep your eye on the big picture. When I was in the second grade, we had a second grade teacher, the same one I talked about before, who went to the blackboard and got a piece of chalk and made a chalk mark on the blackboard. And asked all us kids, what did we see? Well, raising our hands like crazy. Even the boys raised their hands. They knew the answer. Chalk mark, chalk mark, chalk mark. And she looked at us. I will never forget that. She looked at us and she said, doesn't anyone see the blackboard? Doesn't anyone see the blackboard? Doesn't anyone see the blackboard? You can spend your whole life, me and you, looking at the chalk mark. And the chalk mark is just an event, but it's not your life. That incident is not your life. That disability, that weakness, that limitation is not your life. You're part of something larger. I mean, even sitting in this room, look how we are being ministered to by the light, by the air conditioning, by all the goodies that we have to look at and everything else. What's going on outside of this building? What's going on outside of this state? What's going on inside of the world? What's going on inside of the universe and the cosmos? And then we're just a little peety dink there. We're in something larger than ourselves, but some people can, in a certain sense, just focus on the moment, that's what's happening here, and make that their whole meaning of life. My gosh. Right now, as we're sitting here, our body's doing all sorts of things without your permission. My heart's going ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. You know, hopefully I'm digesting things. Hopefully I let them go. Hopefully I can walk out of here. Okay, I'm breathing, I'm sweating. There's more than just what you think. That's why we call the spiritual journey of not mindfulness, heartfulness. Going beyond the mind, going into the deeper being, our deeper being, and seeing that greater awareness and celebrating that, and celebrating it. And that's what we're consenting to. And when you're in touch with the fact that you're eternal, that's going to be the gospel today. When we go to worship together, you know, talks about the struggle of, is there a resurrection and are we immortal? You know, it's that the Jews were worried about the resurrection, some of them denying it, and the Greeks were pondering the immortality, you know, and Jesus brought them all together, if you would, that there is resurrection and there is immortality. You know, we're going to be around forever. That's what we believe. Why don't we celebrate that? Like Patrick Goom says, you know, when you're living in the presence of God, doesn't matter whether it's here or there. That's all. It's just a continuity. And one of the beauties of centering prayer is, if you saw the Gift of Life series, that, you know, centering prayer is a perfect preparation for death. Because you're letting go. You're learning to let go. And I've talked to some hospice people who had friends of theirs who were centering prayers, who went into the hospice program. Thank God the hospital released them so they could enjoy that aspect of the journey out, and not kept them in there so long. Again, sorry I said that, but in a certain sense, there's limits. It's another stage that's there that we experience, which is entering in and preparing for the death that's taking place. But Father Thomas talks about the fact that centering prayer is a marvelous preparation for dying, because we're dying. In the prayer, we're dying. We're dying to ourselves. As Gail, I think, said beautifully, we say yes to God and no to ourselves at that particular moment. Allow the God to increase. I must decrease, He must increase. So I hope you think about that on your journey.